done. I bought a rocket book. You ever heard of these? These are great.
No.
And I'm learning how to use it. You could just,
Why is it called a rocket book?
you write on it and put it, and it uploads it to a Google Drive. And it will go to my solid waste commission, folder. And it's just, and then when I want to change it up, or when I go in there and look at it, I can change it to, it will be my handwritten thing. And then it will turn it to a regular digital text, searchable. So that's, so I can.
All those hours I like to spend finding things I've written down on scraps of paper around my house. What will I do with that extra time that I now?
That's what this is. But, you know, I'm just so afraid we're not, because that way somebody can just take the notes in the meeting, and then I can take the rocket book. Upload it, send it to the board, have them check it, tell me it's okay, and then I'll switch it to the digital.
Ah, the magic of technology. Remember back when there was a piece of carbon between the two ends?
Oh, God. Oh, I know.
Thank you very much.
I do not want to go back there.
I remember when my secretary told me because there would be like 6 lines on that little readout that you could. It's like, why does this part of this? I should keep it that correct.
And did I give you one for March?
I have April and
Should have 4 pieces.
April
4 pieces, the original and the corrections.
April 20. Thank you.
I'm sure they all read everything ahead of time.
And I guess you do these in order.
That's
The
fine.
minutes.
My corrected.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Colton.
I hate these chairs.
Board meeting in June.
My car.
No.
I didn't see it on your.
Should have been the third Wednesday of every month.
If you want to.
We should have been this
Yeah, whatever you.
It takes minutes. She's a Republican.
No, it'll be next Wednesday, the 21st.
Have you distributed all your papers in this
Third
one?
Wednesday of every month.
I am. But I'm giving it to myself too.
Oh, well, that didn't
Give it to everybody else but me. Search feature on the website.
Yeah, he's telling me. I don't know nothing. Don't go there.
These are some ones that's gonna show. I don't know.
I'm the least informed person here.
Is somebody missing?
We've not replaced Bill Satterfield's spot yet, so that's the only. I mean, there's a 7 max, but we'll have 6 points.
I better sit down.
I just want to wait until you're ready. I don't want
That's okay. Close enough. There.
We'll call the meeting to order at 6:05. We'll start with public comments.
You may not have heard. Yes.
Rich, public comments,
Yeah, I got a couple.
please.
You want me to stand or walk?
Whatever.
I had sent you an email telling you to get these. And you responded today. But according to the recent state law modification, it's gotta be 48 hours. And I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, that David had agreed that he would provide the packet information by last Friday before the Thursday. And my question is, why didn't we get them earlier?
Well, I just sent it to you this morning, so I apologize. I'll send it earlier. That state law only applies to elected bodies, county commissions and city councilmen. It does not apply to us or planning commission or stuff like that. But I'll do a better job of getting that out to you quicker.
All right. Can I make a modification to the minutes?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you can talk about them. You can't make a modification, but you can talk
Well,
about it.
You've got me cited as regarding C2, C4 sales being closed at 9/1/10. It doesn't say why. The why was C2, C3, and C4, in my opinion, are going to get additional material placed on top of them as you open modules 1, 2, 3, and 4. Thereby having the requirement to not close those 2, 3, 4 until 2036 and 38. That was the whole reason I brought that argument in. To get a confirmation that, yes, when you open those 4 cells on the west side and bring them up to elevation, what are you gonna do with these over here? You're not gonna fill in that interstitial space? It just seems logical to me that it's gonna be filled in. And that, therefore, it requires 2036 and 2038. That's what that should say. And I'm kind of curious as to why all of the motions has a motion made and a second, but there's no indication of what the vote was. Was it all unanimous? Was it 5-1? Was it 2-3? What, you know, typically that's the way that's done. And I'm kind of curious as why it's not done, it's not here.
We'll update it.
Thank you. Oh, one more thing, if I may.
Please.
In here, I didn't have a chance to really get to read it all, these yellow things. And unfortunately, Mr. Hall's not here. In our contract, whether it was the previous contract or the current contract, it explicitly states, and I think you'll get the public guys to agree with this, while they're managing the landfill and any cell that gets closed, they are responsible for post-closure care up until the time that they walk away. That's what the $8.5 billion bond is about.
It's actually 9.4 now, but that's a different story.
I'm sorry?
It's 9.4 now, but that's a different story. The new bond is 9.4 million.
No, the 9.4 is 1 million operating bond and 8.4 closure bond. We had that straightened out last August or September. There's two parts to that 9.4.
Okay.
Operating is
he's
$1 million.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that the bond amount right here is $9.4 million, all I'm saying.
Well, you're
Go
gonna
ahead,
have
please.
The latest one, because we questioned that last summer, and they come back and modified it to show 2 bonds, an operating bond and a post-closure bond, 8.4 and 9.4. Okay? So, with respect to Mr. Hall, Bill, what's his name?
All,
Hall? No, the auditor.
Mr. Hill,
I would not like to see any language in that audit report that absolves Republic from post-closure cost care while they're operating the landfill. And that includes CA 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 2038. Once they're closed, it'll become our liability, and they are out. But as long as they're there, it's their liability. That is in the contract.
So there's no such thing as post-closure care until the whole landfill is closed. So the post-closure care bond exists after the landfill is fully closed. Then you start the 30-year post-closure care period. So yes,
And that's ours.
there is no such thing as post-closure care while the landfill is active. Because it's not active, it's right. It's not closed, it's active. That's probably the nuance you're getting twisted up on.
No, you're planning on closing CA 1, 12.9.
It's not you.
Post-closure is once the entire place is closed.
That's correct. That's correct.
That might be subject to interpretation. Because of the way the state wrote that requirement for that much money, they talked about the post-closure cost. separate from the closure cost up to that point. That's why it's 13.4 million, with 4-something hours afterwards for the 30 years that Mr. Claus is referring to, and the 8.5 million while you're going up to that point. There is, once you close a cell with the final grade, and you're not, Mr. Claus, let me ask you this. Are you saying that C1, C2, C3, C4 never go to final grade while you're operating?
They're responsible for it until the whole place is closed. Then it
Right.
becomes our responsibility.
But don't change the verbiage in the audit report to absolve them of that post-closure during the operation.
Where is the language that he's referring to?
Where is it at exactly? Where exactly in here?
I don't know, I just had about 10 minutes to read through this yellow highlight. And I'm not sure that there's been anything relayed to them to take it out.
One of those 3 pages.
This is from
There was if I can say something, there was a long discussion between the financial assurance group in Nashville and Mr. Stevens and the chair about that issue. So I would like that matter addressed, and maybe in the emails that you have, because there was a long discussion about the language, and that's why the language was put into the current
Amendment two.
audit. And, but that needs to be addressed.
The amendment's what we're held to, correct? Not what the audit says?
Well, this has to do with the current, that was before July of 2022, when the Second Amendment was approved by the previous Solid Waste Commission. But there was a long discussion during the Second Amendment, discussion about that issue. So I think that we need to make sure that we contact the financial assurance, look at the email correspondence between Mr. Stevens, the assurance, to clarify that issue.
If you look on page 18, I don't understand what the last sentence says, that in addition, the amended contract requires ...
Yeah, we were supposed to fill that out. We were supposed to do the wordsmithing on that. And I think it would be helpful to talk to the financial assurance, because it would have something to do with that Second Amendment and how that will be handled.
All of this stems from about September and November of '21, when the state came in and
Well, Mr.
upped the
Ankle,
amount of money required.
can I just get you to hold up for 1 second? I'm trying to catch up here with what was.
On page 18,
I know. I'm on page 18. I'm trying to get caught up with something, the
okay.
table set, basically. Is the commission approving this tonight, or what are you doing with this? Why is it in the
No,
packet?
it's to discuss. I know Ms. Hunter's seen it and had some changes to it.
Mi-
Right.
Mr. Hill, our auditor, suggested that we form an audit committee to look at all these nuances before we come back and approve it, because we have to have it approved by July. That is our
Of
deadline.
what approved?
The audit verbiage, because it's already past due.
Ah,
He was able to obtain an extension until the end of July, but we really need to get all of that wording addressed before he comes back and we approve that.
so who
It's
wrote-
incomplete.
Who drafted the parts that are in yellow?
All of that was drafted by the former attorney and the former chair.
This is yours?
Yeah.
Do I,
It's yours.
can
Yeah.
I have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I have a little bit of a concern, no, I have a big concern changing the verbiage, because that was done by the previous attorney. And a lot of that was done during his discussions with the financial assurance people. And that's why it's there. So I think that if we're going to change it, that we absolutely need to check with financial assurance and have Ms. Murphy look at that, because that has always been drafted by the attorney.
That's what I was trying to get to. Thank you. What's the time frame as far as what the auditors are asking you to do and by
He
when?
was able to get an extension. We have to approve it by the end of
Next
July.
month, next meeting.
And by July of next,
A month,
July.
yeah.
Next month. That's why he suggested forming an audit committee, so we could work in committee to address all those details
Okay.
before we come back and approve it.
okay, so it has to be done next meeting. Okay. So the concern here would be to make sure that there wasn't some language drafted that restates or garbles or further confuses or alters the language in the contract.
Well,
That's correct.
the difficulty comes in translating
Yes,
in this particular paragraph, phase 1, phase 2, and 4. If you look at the maps, it's CA1, CA2, CA3, CA4, and they all have closure dates associated with this contract. CA1 is the east side, 12.9 acres of landfill. That's to be closed in 2027. CA2, 3, and 4 are spread between 2036 and 2038. And on the last line, it talks about that 13.4 million. That's split between two things, 8.5 for the final closure costs, and 5 million, 4.5, whatever, for the post-closure 30 plus 50, 80 years.
That's when they wrap everything up, put a bow on it, and they're gone.
Right.
What-
Okay,
post,
so we're not responsible, this commission is not responsible for funding that $8 million as of, that's the other thing, June 30th, 2022. Because that number went from like 4.5 million to 13 million, because when the state went in and did projections on inflation, that's how they got there. All right, so now, my concern is the state's gonna come in at some point and take that 13 probably up to 20. That's the second problem. The first problem is to make damn sure that this audit does not absolve Republic from the care of the landfill closed cells prior to vacating. Trying to get your words. It's kind of convoluted, but,
She'll figure it out.
okay.
Anything else, Rich?
if you wanna submit something in writing about, your comments to that the committee can utilize, that has to be matched up with what the legal issue is, especially if the prior lawyer wrote it and now it's being reviewed. I get what you're saying, but if you want to submit something else in writing, something specific,
Yeah.
I think that would be fine, and then I can take a look at this, but I haven't reviewed this language
I
at all.
have to apologize.
I have looked at the
For about 2
contracts,
weeks.
Okay,
Highly personal matter to take care of.
Anything else? Anything else?
No, sir.
I wasn't planning on saying anything, but I will now.
Please.
This is the first time I've come to a meeting here when I've tried to use the other entrance, that it's been locked. I don't think this county pays enough attention to the Americans with Disabilities Act. You're using a building for court that's not even accessible for people with disabilities. And I think, you need to make sure that that door is unlocked in case someone who needs to use that and not use the steps is able to access it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That it?
That's it.
Okay. Now we need to elect a secretary. Because we lost our secretary.
We need roll call first.
That'd be important. Roll call, sorry.
so can you just go around
Oh.
and introduce yourselves? That'd be great.
Hunter, here.
Monty Ross here.
Adam Waller here.
Gary Bush here. Larry Rowland.
There you go. Now we need to elect a secretary. So I open the floor for nominations.
Would you introduce the addition to the,
Oh, Monty Ross,
Lenore City.
Lenore City,
Representing Lenore City.
Gary Bush, one of the county representatives.
Is this being recorded?
Yes,
Could you speak into the microphone so the people out there can hear?
I mean, the microphone's right there. So I think it's fine.
What is that noise?
Somebody's microphone. Will everybody hit microphones near them and see if they're on?
Did you turn it on?
I mean, it's on if you press it, yeah.
Sounded-
Push to talk. Can you hear me? No? Okay.
Okay, open the floor for nominations of secretary.
I'll nominate Gary. We just met. I'm afraid they're gonna get me.
Yes.
welcome aboard.
Any other nominations from the council?
I'll make a motion, we elect him by acclamation.
All in favor of Gary being the secretary, say aye.
Aye.
Gary?
I guess so.
Welcome. So,
We only have
Ms. Hunter passed out minutes from March and April. So you want to take just a second to look at her. Hers is not as long as I thought that'd be, just a little bit longer for March and April, and we'll take a motion to approve March and April when you all had a chance to read it for a second.
The gentleman from the East Tennessee Development District felt that there wasn't adequate language for him to submit to TDEC. So I went back and corrected that. And I think there was another issue. There was a motion and a second to delay the election. That wasn't in there either. So there were some omissions that were added back in there. And I think it had Mr. Satterfield absent but then speaking or something. Anyway, I corrected that. I gave you the originals and the corrections.
Thank you for taking time to do that, Ms. Hunter.
And I incorporated some of Mr. Hall's comments into one of the sets that he sent. I think it had to do with the mayor coming and speaking before the Solid Waste Commission. Are we going to correct the May separate?
Yeah, I want to get these done first,
Okay.
because
You need a motion.
I need a motion for approval of March and April.
I make a motion that we approve them.
Have a motion
As
as
written by Pat.
a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor of approving March and April minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's that. May. Any changes to May?
I have some. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, third paragraph, or actually it starts in the second. It says along with the commission appointed attorney, Miss Elizabeth Murphy. I think all it needs to say, and Miss Elizabeth Murphy, LCSW DC legal counsel. So we would strike along with the commission-appointed attorney. The other thing is, other attendees included Republic Services, that's capital S for services, and it's representatives, not representees.
I got a question, Ms. Hunter.
Yes.
You wanna make these adjustments, in a Word document and let's just approve them at the next meeting?
I guess so, because my notes are real messy.
That'd be easier. Okay, we'll just table these minutes until the next meeting.
So these will be tabled until the next meeting.
And it'll be.
And you'll send me
approvals.
before the packet goes out next month,
Yes.
what changes you want. Perfect.
And the, you know, it's like he was.
Adding the vote count, yes.
Yes.
Do you have any expenses?
Oh, yeah, that was one thing that I had, that, that
Today.
the motion was passed unanimously unless we had a roll call, and I haven't looked to see. So,
It'll be July 4th, baby. Okay. There are no approval of expenses tonight, unless anybody has something.
I have something that I would like to bring up. I would like for the Solid Waste Commission to approve a license for the use of my Loudon County Outlook account. I didn't know this, but at the time when I applied for a email address, unbeknownst to me, I was given a partial license, and the partial license limits my ability to do things with my Outlook account.
Such as?
Well, if I wanted to export my emails to another account, because I have a lot of trouble with my county email, I can't do it. I didn't know that there were partial and full licenses.
My understanding is the partial's just the Outlook component. The other one is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, and those kind of pieces. So what are you needing?
So you have to get the entire,
Yes.
well, I can tell you that when I served as chair, I was never able to use the laptop because I was given a partial.
Well, the Loudon County Solid Waste, at Loudon County Solid Waste Disposal Commission email account is beyond repair. I don't know what's wrong with it. IT can't even figure it out. That one is a full account. So, I guess,
I want to be able to change my email address and get all my emails out of that account, and I can't do that.
well, you download the PST file and import them into something else is how
We've tried that. We've tried everything.
I'll talk to IT tomorrow and see what, do you have an email from IT saying what you need?
Well, I wanted to know what's involved in getting a full license as opposed to a partial license that I can only read, and I'm limited to the use, especially with my email address.
I'll talk to IT tomorrow.
And then the other issue that I have is I received an email from Mr. Stevens, our former attorney, and his bill has not been paid yet.
I saw an email this afternoon, it's being cut and in the mail next week.
Okay.
Him and Aaron Rice have been emailing back and forth.
Okay, and the other thing is we have not been paid for April and May. If we can
Those are going out next week as well.
get that addressed also.
Next week as well.
Okay.
I saw an email about that today.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Workshops. Obviously, I canceled the workshop earlier this month because for the past 30 years, Solid Waste has not had workshops. So I'm not sure how necessary they are. I understand if there's a large issue to workshop items, I get it. But what's the commission's feeling on that? Gary? Larry? Monty? Pat?
I would like to see workshops continue, especially since we have so many issues that are important and we need to move them along. such as the permit application. According to my notes, we were supposed to see the, part two, it was gonna be brought to the workshop. With the cancellation, we weren't able to see that. There was an inquiry about the AER report and the verbiage. There were many issues that were discussed at the last meeting that were left hanging. And I think we need to talk about some of these things, especially, since we wanna move the permit along.
I know part two is now done, so I'm happy to share that. I got it yesterday, I believe. So that's obviously not meaning, so, I mean, I'm happy to workshop part two, but I don't see a reason to workshop financials and, you know, approval of expenses and stuff, but I just don't think a workshop is needed every single month.
Well, county commission has a meeting every single month, and they discuss everything at the meeting. They work out all the details, anything that has to be addressed, and then they vote on it at the meeting, and the meetings are usually a lot shorter because of that prior work session. So those are my thoughts. I just think that we have a lot on our plate and can't possibly do it here, such as a budget, that we need to do sometimes in committee or commission or workshop.
Can I say something?
Please.
Yeah, based off our bylaws and our requirements, I mean, we're required to meet no less than once a quarter. But we meet every month, twice a month. I've been coming for better than a year. So workshops, I see the workshops being just an extension of this meeting a lot of times. The stuff is being regurgitated 2-3 times. I think the workshops have to be focused. I agree, if we have a lot on our plate, we should have workshops. And those workshops should be very identified with identifiable agenda, what we plan on doing, what we plan on getting accomplished out of it. Not just have a meeting and rehash the same stuff. I think if we bring ideas up and stuff like that in those workshops, I would hope we're doing workshops to help the county cut costs, find ways to make more money at this, and run it like more of a business perspective. Use that to really do some work and get something done. That's my opinion. Otherwise, to me, it's just another meeting that's not necessarily accomplishing much, except taking time.
I can see where they're handy, like if we got something big coming on, like say this expansion, but I mean, and I'm new, so is it necessary?
You're the third oldest person here.
Now,
They're the newbies. You're no longer a newbie. Sorry, Larry.
How about that?
but I mean, I don't know that is it necessary every month? If it is, I'll be here, but you know what I'm saying, I don't know.
Well, I think there's gonna be times that we'll probably need every month.
Right,
I mean, if we're working on a budget or that type of stuff, I think we're gonna,
that's what I'm
we're gonna
saying.
have time constraints that we will have to meet, but I think as if we look at our schedule through the year, what we've gotta submit to the state or things we've gotta do, we should know better idea when we have to have them and how to do them.
That's where I'm at with it.
Well, the budget is due by the end of the month. I mean, we work on a fiscal year. It took us a long time to do a budget because this is the first time since 2007 that we've ever had a budget. So to think that we can do it tonight and get it done and get it approved tonight, there's no way. Now, I don't know of a way to do it.
I don't plan on voting on budget tonight, no.
But
And it's due
all
end
the
of the month.
I would say
governmental,
we need a
all the
budget.
governmental bodies, and we're no different, we work on a fiscal year.
Well, I would say we need to have a budget. If we have the budgets due next month, then we should have a workshop this month to address the budget and get that taken care of. You know, we hash out the budget requirements and get it done. I don't see the necessity of them being at every meeting if we're not really addressing anything that they need to be involved in,
I agree.
because
But we have to give them permission because it says in the 2007 contract that they're supposed to be at all meetings. So if we say you don't have to come to our workshop because we're gonna be working on a budget, you know, at least we have informed them that they don't have to attend, so they can do other things. If we're not-
Maybe they like coming. Maybe that's how they like to spend their evenings. Yeah.
So
So
last,
I think we're saying a lot in agreement.
Yes,
on
we're in
purpose of
agreement.
workshops. So,
so last year was the first time there was a budget that was.
This year is the first year we've ever adopted a budget.
Since
so-
07, you said.
Pardon?
Since 07?
Since '07, we've never had a budget, never.
Since 07. Never means in the history ever. But you said
Well, I
since
don't
07.
know before that, no, before that, when the, under the old contract, the old Solid Waste Commission did have a budget.
So there was a budget, just not since 07.
Right, since the
Okay.
new contract.
So if it was done last year, it probably would take a lot of time to do it, if it hadn't been done in so long.
Yeah, we just got it approved this year.
It was just approved not long ago at all.
Yeah, we
So, I
just
mean,
approved it.
So-
and it's a budget I think can pretty much be replicated.
I was gonna say,
I
is
mean,
it-
there may
is
be a
it
few
how
changes
hard-
here and there.
How hard would it be? And so, do
No.
y'all do you do ad hoc committees? Like, so you just
Yeah.
get fewer
Yeah.
group
I
people
personally, I
together,
don't think
so-
the budget needs a budget committee.
Okay.
Personally,
Oh, I just don't.
but that's just my opinion.
We just did it at a regular workshop, or, you know, when we were meeting as a whole. I think one time we had a budget committee meeting, but it involved everyone. And I think only 2 of us showed up, and Mr. Hollingshead.
Okay. Financials we got today from the finance office. I emailed them all to you. Do you want a hard copy?
I mean, I have a
Okay.
copy.
Are there any questions about the financials?
No, it was pretty straightforward because there weren't any expenditures.
It's a good thing. So let's be there next month. There's no movement on administrative assistant, Dropbox status. I know I owe everybody a link.
On the administrative assistant, if I
Ma'am.
may say something.
Please.
I believe it was June. There was a discussion about, it was June, at the June 14th meeting,
Well, this is June. That was yesterday.
no, 2022.
Oh, 2022.
Sorry about that.
So,
A
we
year
met
ago.
yesterday. I missed that one.
A year ago, sorry about that.
Some of us weren't here.
I missed that one.
If I can pass this to everybody. Mr. Field brought, since this has been talked about before, he had some suggestions about what the administrative assistant should do. And I thought those were good, you know, good ideas, since those are some of the issues that we deal with. Of course, they didn't act on it, but those are many of the issues that we're talking about. And I brought some extras if you'd like one. I think I have 2 extras. No,
Well-
maybe I have 3.
Republic is responsible for taking minutes, so I don't think that needs to be on there.
Yeah, you can give everybody one. Well,
Don't worry about it, you guys have it.
well, they're required to do the minutes, but I think that on the other hand, when there are so many corrections, it would be good to have someone either on the Solid Waste Commission or someone who we're going to hire do the minutes.
We just elected a secretary. You're retired.
So does he get a recording of this and that's?
It's on YouTube, plus her notes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But those are the issues that we were having to deal with on a regular basis, were the minutes or corrections, preparing the packets, organizing the files, working with Santec about the annual report, as well as Chris Parks and the East Tennessee Development District, fulfilling public records requests. board request, just basic information. And one thing that we've forgotten about completely is the recycle education. That isn't being addressed. So,
I thought Convenience Center got a grant for that.
they may get a grant, but nothing is done with regards to recycling. other
Is
than-
that our responsibility to educate people on recycling?
Well, I think that we want to do something, with the garbage rather than just landfill it.
I'm not sure that's our responsibility. And I'm not, I recycle at home.
Is there a litter grant kind of thing?
That goes, yes, and it goes
And
to the
that
convenience
goes to the
center, yes.
convenience
I'm not
center,
sure how
so-
that's our responsibility.
Well,
I think
I think one thing that you're forgetting though is we have a 25% waste reduction mandate. And we have to find ways to ensure that we meet that 25%. We didn't do it this year. And, really, someone should have been helping, the gentleman with the East Tennessee Development District. In the past, it was the lady with Santec. She helped. But
What's-
someone needs to help.
Can I ask a question? What's the ramifications if we don't meet the 25%?
I think we may have the TDEC come in and make some suggestions.
But that's my question is, I mean, is there?
We can't force people to recycle.
Financial?
No, but
burden or
the
anything
collection
that
of
we
the
raise?
data is important.
I understand that.
And we need
I'm just trying
someone
to
to do that.
understand the liability risk that we'd be put under if we don't do the 20, or if we
we've
don't
done,
hit the
we've not done it
25%.
for years. I mean,
It
Well,
hasn't, it
that's why I'm
hasn't been
raising the
done. I
question.
do know that as a result of one year when we were far from the mark, when the solid waste was far from meeting the 25%, TDEC came in and did an assessment. And, they were written up for not,
They
working, TDEC,
Wrote up who?
wrote up who.
the Solid Waste Commission, with regards to that, because the Solid Waste Commission is acting on behalf of the county on that waste reduction.
I think we need to find out who is actually, because if it's the convenience center, would it not follow the hierarchy?
They
for-
participate. It says here that, it says work with Santec and Mitch Loomis. Mitch Loomis has been replaced by Mr. Hendrick. Chris Parks on annual report, and that is the 10-year, 10-year plan that we're talking about that needs to be updated. It's updated every year, but, it's falling short of meeting the mandate of the 25% waste reduction. So,
But we're close. It's not like we're at 50%. We're close to 25%.
well, we're close, but like I said, someone is having to help Mr. Hendrick with the collection of the data in order for him to utilize that data to give to TDEC to meet that 25% criteria.
We'll discuss that more next month. Dropbox status is getting filled up. I'll send that to everybody tonight.
Now, is that Dropbox a solid waste commission Dropbox?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But, because like I said earlier, the solid waste email is not receiving any emails for some reason, and IT department and Microsoft can't figure it out. It's attached to my county email account. But I'll add each person's email address to it so they can access to it.
Well, I can tell you that I have a county email address, and I find it very frustrating to use it because even my emails that I send out to someone, they'll bounce or they'll go to, spam or whatever, so I'm over it. I want to take all my emails and get another account. That's why I want to be able to.
Another account where? Like just a Gmail account?
Gmail, anything
Okay.
that works.
Gmail
Okay.
is great, 'cause that's what I use all the time.
What is it?
So Gmail's great. 'cause
That's what I use, yeah.
I have several Gmail. I have like 5.
So do we want to workshop budget next time, or do we feel the budget from this past year is clean enough to look at and make modifications at the next voting meeting next month.
I would make a suggestion that, based off the discussions we've been having as we plan our workshop, begin to have it at the beginning of next month, that's normally scheduled. We address the budget at that time and go through pretty quick as a team, because I don't think it should take that long.
So you wanna workshop it
Yeah,
and then, okay,
workshop it, then vote it. And then I would also suggest that if you've got the elements with regards to the 10-year plan, the only 10-year plan I can find is about 30 years old.
from 1994.
That's
And-
the only,
and-
that's the only plan
Yeah,
there
well,
is.
I mean, and I think that workshop, we look through the plan, because of the documents that I'm trying to find, there's a lot of stuff out there that you're bringing up issues on that don't exist in my eyes. So if they don't exist, we need to be able to know, as being members of this committee, what the language says in each one of these things, because I know from a legal perspective, it's gotta be a nightmare for our lawyers to piece this thing together, let alone us. Because I've dealt with legal stuff my whole career, and the stuff I look at, there's amendment number 2 that we just signed, there's an amendment number 2 out there, that was signed a few years back. And I'm looking at documents going, holy crap, what's what? So I would suggest we do that at the next workshop meeting and try to get us all on the same page so we can streamline this a heck of a lot better.
So the budget and 10-year plan would be the topics.
And the
At least a good, at least a good starting point in my perspective.
So I'm gonna throw the audit to that workshop as well on the 13th of July. Client
That's
record,
the vote, right? The workshop.
no, we don't vote until the 20th. Do you wanna have the workshop right before the voting session? Or do you wanna have it the week before the voting session?
Well, I thought the workshop was the first week.
The workshop will be the second Thursday, the 13th, the voting will be July 20th. We have the workshop the week before, or,
Okay, that's fine.
okay. That's what's advertised already.
Yeah, that's already
Yeah,
advertised.
whatever's in the schedule.
Yeah.
I've got so many schedules.
Client records from previous attorney, Ms. Hunter?
I would like to, I think you said you scanned everything, Mr. Waller? Have you scanned all of the records?
Oh, no,
No?
no. Making good progress, but no. Not all,
Okay.
no.
I thought if you had scanned them, I'm looking for certain records that maybe would show up in your scan.
You're happy to send me whatever you want, I'll look, yes.
Okay, I'll send you that.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I need to go back. Dropbox status, were we supposed to do anything about that?
I owe you a
We just-
Dropbox link that has
Okay,
all the expansion,
okay.
amendment expansion documents.
Is it, and it's full? You said it's
There's a
not,
bunch of stuff in it.
there's a lot of things, okay, it's
Yeah.
just, but it's not full.
Oh, no.
Okay.
We can make it full.
It's okay. It's okay.
So we send you an email and you send us the link,
Correct.
okay?
Poplar Springs update.
I made a records request to get the 10-year agreement, except I haven't read it all, but it's not signed. I'll give you a copy of it. I'm not sure where the county is with regards to the adoption of that document. So I'll send it to you.
That would be great. I asked for the documents. The material I got from Ms. Hunter indicated to me that Mr. Stevens had already looked at this, and he very clearly had a statement that the commission didn't have a contract, didn't have operational responsibility,
Right.
and there was no document. There appears not to be a document that ties the commission to being responsible for that landfill.
That's right.
So I haven't seen the source documents that Mr. Stevens used to prepare the statement, but he was fairly clear. He wasn't dithering about it. It was, nope.
Not our problem.
Not a problem. So subject to getting the final, checking the source material and not just relying on the last attorney, which is not always the best idea. I spent maybe an hour on that because Ms. Hunter provided the documents. So I just would like to get the rest of it and wrap it up. It's sometimes proving proving the negative is a little bit of a challenge, but still can be done, not a problem, but we're 80% there.
So in July, do we want to vote to send the remaining Poplar Springs funds back to the county general fund?
I think the last thing that was discussed by the commission was, do you need to send the money anywhere?
Yeah.
And then the follow-up question was, is there a liability that goes with the money? So if there's no liability, then I think your next question is to assess if in fact you want to send the money out and why. That would be
Yeah.
up to you. The limit of my inquiry is whether there's some document out there that gives the commission liability to manage any portion of it post-closure, other than just get the check on the tipping fees. Did I miss something?
No.
Did I miss something?
No, this is what I received, after I made a records request to get that county agreement with the landowner. I don't see anything with regards to the solid waste commission being involved.
So then I would probably have a fairly short document that just cites to the records I looked at and quotes back what Mr. Stevens already found. So we're not talking about a whole lot of work.
Okay. We'll address that then at.
Can I have this, Ms. Hunter? Can I keep this?
Yes, you can.
Regional Waste Authority. So we have a 10-year plan that I misspoke at the last meeting that we have to have an updated our 10-year plan to approve part 1. So I want to apologize for misstating that. We can approve part 1 to get the process started and then convene within the next 90 days as the Regional Waste Authority to update our 10-year plan, but also to review the expansion. So it's in July or August, we will meet as the Regional Waste Authority to address and hold a public hearing and what all is needed as part of the expansion. So that'll be done in July or August at the latest. So that's a whole different committee we're on. So
How will we advertise this? How will we, what will we do with regards to a public notice?
News Herald.
The News Herald?
Mm-hmm.
How many days in advance do you have to do that?
I'll do it like 30 days in
30
advance.
days.
Yeah.
And are you gonna specify the reason for the public hearing?
Oh, there's a whole list of criteria that TDEC requires, or TCA actually requires. So yes.
What about notifying some of the property owners near the landfill?
We're required to do that.
Well, maybe we're not required, but we've done that in the past. Whenever properties were going to be sold or that might affect the people that lived near there. I know that the Solid Waste Commission notified maybe, 20 or 30 people, and they all came.
If you'd like to make a list, I'm happy to send something to them.
Okay.
Yeah, the notice requirements in the statute refer everyone back to Title 8, Chapter 44, which is not highly specific. I looked at it and I didn't see anything that would require it, but if the commission would prefer to over notice, that's certainly, you can always give more, you just can't give less. You have to
Okay.
meet the bare minimum. As to both content and then means of publication, those are obviously two different things that can get people confused, so I don't think there's a specific statute on notice for this. It just refers you back to a more generic. If you have questions, let me know, but it's the 68-211-814 2A. And just to let the commission know, an application for to construct or expand when you're acting as the regional board. It does say opportunity to afford all interested parties. I'm not really sure what the definition is of that, so if you are concerned about it within a mileage, we can certainly drill down on that. By the way, I'm sorry I deviated for a moment, but anyway, the approval of the expansion as a regional board can take place at or before the time the application is submitted to the commission. So is it the same day? I don't think so. So at or before, it doesn't have to be before. That's the reason for the corrected.
Which takes us to part one. I know we've been trying to get here to pass part one, and Ms. Murphy and I worked. Where's that folder with the part
Not this.
one? Not that
This is
folder
mine.
had. Do you have the part one folder down there, Ms. Hunter?
Have what?
Where's the part one folder?
The one that I had came from Mr. Hollinshead.
Is that it? One big sticking point in the part one was the Jackson Law. Ms. Murphy and I worked on the language regarding the Jackson Law, and it states, Loudon County has adopted the Jackson Law, which may or may not apply to the proposed expansion. Mineral City has reviewed its records and has not adopted the Jackson Law. The applicant is unaware of any other county or municipality that may have an interest under the Jackson Law. So I think that absolves the Jackson Law issue for us as a solid waste commission. So that's our responsibility. We're not the county, we are the solid waste commission. It also states, Ms. Murphy worked on, the applicant is also the regional solid waste board in this instance. Loudon County Solid Waste is concurrently submitting the part one application to TDEC and holding a public hearing followed by deliberation and vote on the expansion application pursuant to TCA 68-211-814. So those are our two biggest concerns with the part one. And just a few questions. By approving this, we, as the permit holder, can continue to reserve and preserve all rights in review and input and objections to the design and hydrological information necessary for part two, correct? So we're not, the train hasn't left the station. We're still driving the train together, and if we have issues, we can deal with those and slow the process down if we need to.
Yeah, you guys own the permit, so at any time, even after the permit is issued, you still have total control over changes, construction, non-construction. Control always rests with you as the commission at every step of the way.
This is just initiating the process to even allow TDEC to start reviewing this and the hydrological report, correct?
That's right, and they actually won't begin reviewing it until after the region board, you as the region board, hold the hearing and approve it.
Okay.
So TDEC will have it, they'll be waiting for you to have the public notice, they'll wait till the region board happens, the region board, if the region board votes yes, then TDEC will say, okay, now we will begin reviewing this, we can look at the hydrogeology, and when the part two application comes in, they will begin reviewing it.
Okay. So on that note, I'll need a motion to approve part one tonight.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion from Loudon, I have a second. I have a second from Mr. Bush. Any comments, discussion? All in favor say aye. 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 Ms. Hunter?
No.
Ms. Hunter's the only no, so 4-1 it passes. You wanna go through operations? Few other questions to answer. I asked about elevation numbers. Can we go over, what cells are active currently? A through I? Which ones are being used, which ones are not being used?
So, you know, the definition of like closed or active has final cover been on. So when we talk about closure, it's really just a construction project to put a liner over cells. So right now, technically, all cells are active, technically. Which ones are actively being filled in? It's really that module J, that was the new cell module that we constructed this year. They're really on the northwest portion of the facility. So that's where we're filling right now, and it will kind of, you know, as you get higher in elevation, the landfill gets skinnier because it has side slopes, and so it's kind of the delineation of cell boundaries sort of goes away as you it's there when you construct them, but as you fill, it kind of gets all blended together. So module J is where we're currently filling that new cell.
Okay. And I know you sent me some stuff just now. Do we have the current surveyed grades for those cells in an email you can just answer what those are? Can you look at those and tell me?
I can look at them, yeah. So
Because you can read that better than I can, so I can ask the questions, you can just answer them.
So we resurvey on a quarterly basis. That's when we're evaluating how, if we're filling according to grade, and also looking at our density, our utilization of that airspace. And
So let's start with E, B, H, I, J. Where, I guess last one was in March, you said, last elevation, or survey was in March?
it was in March,
Okay.
and it's opening here on my. So the figure that I sent you doesn't have the current, like, cell delineation boundaries, so I think what the easiest thing for me to do would be if you want, like, what's the current elevation in each cell, just give us a day to circle back to you, and I can just give you the information.
And that would be, the last survey was in March?
That'd be as of March, yeah. So the
Okay.
new survey will happen here in about 15 days.
Okay.
So maybe what would be best is if we get that survey done and then follow up.
Okay.
That's okay?
Okay. And do we know what the closure grades are for these?
So, yeah, so the closure grades won't have changed, so that's, and we've sent that information a few times, but I can certainly, in that same submittal, just resend that figure that shows what the closure grades are.
Okay.
And if you're looking at, like, what's the difference between current grades and closure grades, we can just provide a figure that shows very clearly, like, okay, in all the different areas of landfill, how much fill there is remaining till we reach permitted grade. Is that what you're after?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's
Is it?
totally good for us.
What is do you have a document that shows what the closure grade is?
Sure, but closure grades are different all over the landfill, right? Are you thinking what the maximum closure grade is, or?
I don't know.
Grade is just like, think of it like a big hill. That's you can fill up to a maximum elevation, but it changes as you go up, right? It's got different geometry. So the closure grades are just what that final hill can look like. So maybe it's lower over here, a little higher over here or something, but at the very end, it's permitted to a grade, and grade is just the same thing as an elevation. So it's not one number, it varies sort of all over the landfill and changes depending on where you are. So we can provide really clear figures that show over the entire current landfill, the grades are this, but the permitted grades over that same landfill are different, and then we can actually show across that whole surface what's the difference in elevation at every single point.
You said a minute ago, I think closure grades won't have changed and those have been sent.
Yeah,
Is there
so
a document?
closure grades are in the second amendment of the permit. So that's, I forget which exhibit it is, or of the second amendment of our contract. So closure grades are in that document.
Okay.
So we'll get a written document from him, from Mr.
For
Clausen?
sure.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. Apologize for the miscommunication on what you were looking for.
You're fine. I'm gonna
So
get the,
you're gonna wait for the next survey, I'm just making sure my notes are
Yeah.
right. You're gonna wait for
We
the
could,
next
we
survey.
could do it right now if you want. I think it might be more useful if we just wait for 2 weeks. You'll definitely have it before the workshop, I can commit to that. Because again, the next survey comes at the end of, I think it's June 30th is when it's scheduled.
Okay.
But we could, if you'd like it earlier, we could do it, we could do it first thing next week and have it to you. Your call.
Wait.
yeah, I'd wait too.
Okay, sure thing.
Can you provide the one from March? How hard is it to provide the one from March that shows the survey grade, so when
Yeah.
the new one comes in, they can see?
Sure.
Yeah, that's
No
fine, yeah.
problem. Yeah,
Why don't we just do that and get it while we got it?
I think it was in last month's packet, but we can definitely resend it, no
Just,
problem.
I mean, you don't have to send the whole survey, just, I think the numbers and what they correspond to. So what'll happen is if it's coming in a more complicated document, it may have to go to someone else for reading and interpretation. But if you say
You just wanna know the maximum elevation in each cell right now, is that just as a number?
I think that would probably do it.
Okay,
Your max, the highest point, understanding there's elevations going down the sides and all the other places, for actually providing a piece of information to them, maximum elevation surveyed for each cell that you're no longer active in.
sure. Yep, we can, yep.
And then provide the whole survey too, but the cheat sheet,
Yeah,
bring that too, so we'll get
definitely,
that.
if y'all think that's helpful, we can absolutely provide that.
I'll be curious to see how they change the elevation as they settle between, over the quarter. That'd be good to see.
Yeah. All right.
Operations? Don't stop unless somebody has a question.
Okay, first is the landfill tonnage report for May. Our 22.5-day average is 620 tons, and our 30-day average is 465 tons. And then next is the summary customer activity report, if you would like to review that.
Mr. Hollingshead, did you bring a packet of what she's talking about discussing? May I have a copy, please? Thank you. Do you need one more?
I think I have it. It's the one that was-
Yeah, yes, ma'am, you have it.
Wanna move on?
Please.
Materials classification reports next. We had 11,179 tons of MSW, 2,196 tons of special waste, 580 tons of sludge. Total material, we had 13,954 tons, which was made up of 80% MSW, 20% special waste, and 4% sludge. And then next is the waste analysis report, if you would like to review that. And then after that is the 2022-2023 tire report. We had a total of 2,824 tires brought in the month of May, bringing the annual total to 28,692.
Sorry, but what does OB and IB stand for? If you could, what does that mean?
Outbound, inbound.
Okay.
So question on that, the outbound, that's the tonnage, so like April, you had 3495, which is tires inbound. So the outbound is equivalent, but those tires made up the 68.92?
I can't say that exactly, no. The outbound is the trailers leaving the facility headed to Liberty.
Okay,
And Liberty is the tire recycler.
right.
So
So
it could be some lag.
it could be,
there
it could be
some
some
lag,
left
there could
over
be some
month to month,
plus.
stuff like that, okay, okay.
A lot of tires.
Yes.
Want to discuss the host and security fees letter?
That's just the normal host and security fee, the 5.5 and the 5%. Total amount received this month was $49,299.95.
Thank you. Anything on the airspace utilization report we need to know about?
That's what's flown, that will be updated in the June. This is what was last flown in March,
Okay,
and it'll be updated in June.
okay. Rate increases. I know Ms. Hunter has some questions about those, so Ms. Hunter?
Yes, we received your cover letter, but I would like to see the other rates for the, other companies. We normally get that every year.
You get that you get that before January 25th of the following year.
What about the, are they going to receive a rate increase in July?
Who?
The other companies?
Some customers will, yes.
Okay, I would like to see a list of everyone who's going to receive a increase. Is the gate rate going to go up?
That's, look the letter.
Roughly 4.57%.
So we're gonna go from what to what?
Part of the problem is that the contract requires us to increase based on CPI at the end of
May to
May.
May.
Okay,
And that hasn't been released yet, so we're sort of,
waiting on that?
so we're sort of waiting on it. I think by next month we'll have obviously specifics.
Yeah, but you're May to May, correct, in the BLS?
That's right,
Okay.
yes,
So
that's right.
I would
And these numbers are approximate, trying to get something out there.
Yeah, the May numbers just came out yesterday.
Okay,
So
there you go.
so from the BLS, this is actually slightly lower than the BLS numbers from May to May. So my question on that is, this shows area government users and non-area government users, but I affiliated that with what's in the contract. It's actually the combination of basically your volume and special waste users, which is at 26 today. That would go up to the 2718.
Correct.
Okay, so that classification doesn't show up in the contract like that anyplace, so just a point. The area government does, then we have the $45, which is your general tipping fee at the gate, I believe.
Yes.
Is that gonna be addressed also in the same manner, or are you gonna leave it flat based off what's going on?
I think off the top of my head, I don't remember what we chose to do. There's not a lot of people that are paying straight gate rate, so I believe we're leaving it the same, but I'm not off the,
I think it was.
So then I had another question, since we're talking about BLS, and that is operating costs. Energy costs have come down a whopping $34 year over year, so it's come down 11.6%. So that means your fuel cost and your trucks and stuff has come down significantly, which is a big operating cost for hauling waste. So are you going after Liberty and other players to see if they can get you a cost reduction in those areas, so there's more, at the same time? So I'm gonna expect that you're doing something in that area to show some type of offset, potentially in some type of operating cost, because energy is one of the biggest drivers in this whole thing, without a doubt.
for sure, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think when gas prices spiked last year, a lot of haulers got burned pretty badly.
Yeah, they got
And
clobbered.
so what we're seeing is they're actually continuing to take an even more defensive position, sort of like digging themselves in even more. So most folks are not being willing to provide like fuel discounts or reductions in prices just because
Yeah,
of how
but let's be
badly they
honest,
got burned.
haulers all use a fuel surcharge rate. That's
Well,
on a base rate that it's tied back to the 70s or whatever. So I mean, from a hauling perspective, they've been getting most of them hit you with a surcharge unless you
Yeah,
got
well,
a lot of fixed
It's
costs.
not quite true. A lot of them have fuel surcharges included, but a lot of times those fuel surcharges are, maybe there's a lot of different ways they escalate. And in almost all cases, no one anticipated a fuel surcharge pegged to $2.75, jumping up to
I know, I
$5.
didn't anticipate paying $100,000 for a container to come to the US either.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
people had to do what they had to do to get the stuff. I'm just
Sure.
saying, that is 50% above, that reduction is 50% above the overall increase that's tied to the trash and waters and sewers area. So I'm just saying that when we look at this, I want to make sure we're looking at it holistically, because where there are offsets, I'm not a big advocate of just tying it to one index. If there's other costs that drive costs up to you guys and stuff like that, I would expect we see those offsets also.
yeah.
That's my
So
point.
we just follow what's in the Second Amendment. So the Second Amendment specifies you use CPI water,
Yeah, I
sewer,
understand.
trash. Yeah, so that's all we did there.
I'm on board.
Oh,
When you
yeah.
look at it, that number is actually gonna be different, but
That's right.
it's actually slightly higher. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying, what the numbers for labor and other things are starting to soften and come down, so.
Yeah, you got it.
The second amendment says with regards to the general tipping fee is $45 per ton, excluding any applicable fees, taxes, and surcharges with respect to the disposal of waste at the landfill. And the area government user tipping fee is $23.58 per ton, excluding any applicable government fees, taxes, and surcharges with respect to the disposal of waste at the landfill. So, I'd like to know, what the fees are with regards to the $45 per ton, and also, I think there was something that was said, maybe September, that there are some fees being assessed, and I'd like to see those also. And I'd also like to know, with regards to, are we gonna see any increase with regards to the mattresses, box springs, tires, anything that could affect the vendors or consumers? I'd like to see that as well, please.
Sure thing.
One thing that I'd like to say, I'm gonna regress and go back to the permit one. I noticed that there were some errors. Will those be corrected?
They're already corrected in the packet that Mr. Waller has.
Okay, so can we get a copy of that with the corrections? With the, I know that we have new members on the,
I'll send it to you.
okay. So all of those have been corrected.
Is that why you voted no?
Pardon?
Is that why you voted no?
Oh, yeah,
For
because
that
it was,
concern?
yeah, it was incorrect.
Okay, because I guess, you know, after you get a motion in a second, there's supposed to be some discussion, and I would hope that there would be some explanation about that, you know, the concern that she had to vote no.
Mm-hmm.
And then some discussion on that, and we would have found out that it was corrected, and so then it would have been, you know, by acclamation, and I mean, everybody would have voted yes. And I think that would have reflected well on keeping us all informed, because I have to say, when she voted no, I went, what? You know, but
I'm
it,
not gonna vote yes on a wrong document.
right,
Sorry,
so, but, no, and I totally understand that, but it would have been nice to have heard that, and then for him to say, oh, that's been corrected and Adam has it, so you would feel better about it, and I would feel better about voting yes when, you know, I would just have had the information that I needed.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, that, if we could just have some discussion when somebody's feeling a no coming on, I think that needs to be discussed before we vote, that's, I guess.
Fair.
So, I mean, that's just, I'm new, okay?
Thank you for your information.
And then I also, we went quickly by the airspace projection, and there's some things that when we're talking about projections, the model used there, you know, it's really kind of, it's very consistent after for the projections, but it's not so consistent for the actual. And so I wondered about the model that you're using, does it accommodate, or is there any way to pull in that model for your projections, what kind of like construction activity, or what kind of like push that amount up? So, because it seems to me that right now it's saying that the landfill will be full December 31st, 2024. Well, if those numbers are higher along the way, then it could be full sooner. And if we're gonna do a 10-year plan, it would be handier, I think, to understand what could potentially happen instead of having those kind of rote responses down, you know, for the projected. What do you really think it's going to happen? Is your model advanced enough to accommodate that, I guess is my question.
So what we usually take in is just based on
Yeah.
historical averages,
Right.
but if we know there's a like a volume customer that's in the marketplace that's coming in that which doesn't happen very often, but if we know that's anticipated, we'll definitely pull that into like future projected tonnages. there's really, I hate to oversimplify it, but there's really only like three variables that impact it. There's what volume of space do you have to fill up with trash? How much trash you put in there, and how dense can you pack it? Like,
Okay.
that's basically, like, if you only have this much room to fill up
Right,
with trash, you can put a lot more in it if you pack it a lot tighter.
Well, but your sources are gonna, you're like, I mean, it went up to 171 thousand cubic yards, and so.
Yep.
And so was that because of construction? Was that because of activities in the acceptance area? I mean, or what prompted that to, instead of just a number, why did that go up so much in May of 2020? And is there, can that happen again in December 31st of 2023? I mean, to really push that number up and make that happen this.
Well, April 2021 was 171.
Yeah, so that's a volume consumed number, and I think what
Okay.
happened there, this
Okay.
is just showing, that was over a year.
Okay,
That was
gotcha.
over a year period of time, as
Mhm.
opposed to then when we sort of took over, you can see it sort of goes to a quarterly basis,
Mhm.
except for one period where it looks like it went 6 months.
Yeah, if you split it out more by month to month,
Okay.
this,
It kind of
like
evens out.
this jumped off the page like January 6th, 2023, but you had to go all the way back to June from the last report. So all of a sudden in January, you had 100,000.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, but if you go the year before, they went January, April, and June. So if you look at January, April, June, it's 33, 43, 52, and then you had 100,000 the last six months.
Yeah.
Well, you can look at the duration of days, and it shows you the number of
The number of
days.
days. Okay, so
For
what
that
I need to
period.
do is divide those so that they're all,
Yeah, you
Okay,
could do a real
gotcha.
quick calculation of,
Okay.
based off the days, and that's kind of on their other report, shows how much by day is coming, so.
I will do that in the future. Thank you very
Well,
much.
there's a lot to learn, and we appreciate your questions, and there's.
But it's a good question, yeah, it takes a while to dig through some of this stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. TDEC inspection reports, I know we just got something today.
That's the one in the package is May, the one that I handed out earlier is the, June 6th inspection.
The packet had the June 6th inspection as well, but I got it in there. But anyways, anybody have any questions about the May or June? Any notice of violations in those two reports? May or June?
I think there was a V1 in the May, but it's been addressed, and the June had no notice of violations.
And then do you want to give an update on this today that was sent out to everybody?
I have a question.
Well, he's gonna give us an update here, then we'll ask questions.
Okay.
Please.
This is all self-explanatory. It was sent to me last night by our environmental manager. Just giving an update as to everything that's happening with regard to the stormwater in Oak.
Now it's Hunter questions. Sorry.
Yes, I wanna know why we did not receive the April, inspection report in May. Because I was quite surprised to see the notice of violation on the leachate. And I saw the report that, that subsequently was written, but why didn't we receive it in May?
The April report happened after the meeting.
That's right, but we had a May meeting, which it should have been brought to us in May. If you have April the 21st, and then you have a meeting in May, we should have had it in our May packet.
I may have made a mistake.
Well, I think it's important that whenever we have a notice of violation like that, that we all be apprised and sent a copy, even if it's accidentally forgotten at the workshop and the meeting. I would
I do
appreciate that.
think that was, so the April circumstances, so we had a meeting with TDEC subsequent to that, which Mr. Waller sat in on. Mr. Hall, sat in on. And I believe Mr. Hall at the workshop did update the commission on it, so.
I went back and looked at it, and he did not.
Right.
What was the violation with the leachate?
I don't actually recall back from April. I think there were some historic seeps that had been kind of happened there during winter that you can't fix when the slopes are so wet. And so we had been working on them over several months, and that was, I think when you read the TDEC inspection report, it actually says that, you know, making great progress on the seats, but there was still a few lingering, so that violation continued. And then we got them all resolved, and that fell off in May.
So it was just an outbreak on the side of the hill?
Yeah.
And did it just stayed in it stayed inside the site, didn't get into a access road or anything?
Yeah, so it was a minor violation, so anytime the TDEC statewide inspector manual, if there's leachate that actually reaches a ditch, then that's automatically a major violation, but if it's a leachate seep that's on an exterior side slope, which, you know, it just happens all the time with landfills, and it's just a matter of, did we address it properly, did we document it, were we working on it, and did we follow the proper procedures, and if so, then it's just a minor violation. And that's what happened at that April inspection.
So there was there was a fire that damaged some equipment, and that was there was reference to that a couple of times. And so what happened at the fire? I mean, what do you do about making sure that doesn't happen again?
Well,
When
it
you
does
get caught,
happen,
what happens?
unfortunately, and that's just part of operating a landfill. We do everything we can to obviously maintain the equipment. We have a very robust equipment maintenance program. All the equipment has fire suppression systems on it, so there's an automatic, if smoke is detected, the entire engine compartment is set up with automated fire suppression, and then there's fire extinguishers on all the equipment also. Unfortunately, in this case, it's undetermined what caused the fire. A lot of things can happen. There's things that get thrown away all the time that can spark up or react or cause fires and may lodge themselves within the equipment possibly. And so, yeah, it's certainly an unfortunate circumstance for us. It was a very expensive, luckily no one was injured. Our team reacted really well. And we've since actually purchased a new compactor, which is, it's almost a $700,000 piece of equipment. So certainly was an impact to us, but something that we have to operate. So we've since mobilized a new piece of equipment, and it's on site now.
Was the fire in the waste pile?
Yeah, the fire was while the equipment was working in the trash.
Wow, okay.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate the question.
Any other questions about the inspection report? The payment option at the landfill was a call that I received from an individual who wanted to pay cash and they don't accept cash. Him and Republic are talking tomorrow to sort it out, so that's no longer needing to be discussed. Operating contract 5.1, Ms. Hunter?
Just the 5.1 is, I was concerned that, you know, like with the inspection report that we did not receive. Like I said, I was concerned about it. I went back and looked at the entire workshop. It was never discussed. So I would just like to think that, you know, we are going to, everyone on the Solid Waste Commission will be kept apprised of what's going on. I know that you have a liaison, Mr. Hall, but on the other hand, you know, I think that the 5.1 simply discusses all the reporting that needs to be done, and I hope that all of us are being kept apprised of that, of the various issues that need to be reported to us.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. You want to talk a little bit about you and technical advisor updates? If you have any.
We've got someone ready, so as soon as the plans are, there's a part 2 plan that is already done, correct? And it's been sent.
I'll send it to you since we voted on part 1 now.
Is it, what kind of file is it?
It's a giant PDF.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just dense. It's not like in
Most-
AutoCAD or anything?
No, yeah, no, it's all PDF.
Alright,
Yep.
okay.
Are there any pieces of it he'll really need to zoom, our technical advisor will need to zoom in on?
And everything should be, like, all the drawings and everything will be in, like, original format. So if he
Okay.
wants to plot it, he can. If he needs to zoom in, he can. And certainly if he wants the original, like, electronic, like, origination files, we can provide those, no problem. Just anything y'all need.
What do you mean by origination
Like,
files?
if he wants AutoCAD, like, DWG files to be able to actually go in and touch things and see how they interact with each other rather than just on paper, we can definitely do that.
Why don't you go ahead and figure out how to make that available, cause I'm pretty sure that'll be the next question, and that'll just save us some time, and time
Sure.
seems to be what we're short on.
Extremely short on.
So why don't you fire that up and go ahead, so in case the question comes, we're right, the commission's ready.
Sure.
And whatever questions they have, he's not saying, oh, I can't see that, and then we have to go back, and we have to call you, and I think that's speedier.
I'll add part 2 to that Dropbox, so when I get email addresses, it'll be in there waiting.
So will you provide the under pieces?
Yeah, I'll work on getting those all put together. No problem.
Just send an email maybe next week about timing, so we're tracking with, okay, you need another week, or, you know, these things take time, so, but we're not, they
Sure.
don't fall off the table then.
Sure, yeah, no worries. I mean, there's so much to review in the part 2 that I will definitely have it before y'all or your advisor is needing it, but we're on
Okay.
it.
And then there's a hydrogeo for the
Which you
whole
already have.
expansion. Is the hydrogeo on all of it, like all 26 something acres, or just,
Yeah, so the hydrogeo is already done. I think we've submitted that previously. Happy to submit it again.
The last version I think I saw was 95% done, so if you would just go ahead and send the finalized version.
Sure thing, yep, we'll get that done. And yeah, so that's for the entirety of the future expansion.
all of the acreage is the 26 plus, 26 acres and change? Do you know?
I don't remember off the top of my head what the total acreage is of there's the 2 different expansion areas.
Well, there's the south and there's west of the red line.
Call it unconstructed, I guess, the
Right.
unconstructed footprint.
Yeah, the hydrogeo is for really the entire boundary that's in this second amendment.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get the permit expansion for that, you'd have to have the hydrogeo for the whole chunk,
That's right,
whether you used it or not.
that's right.
Right.
Yes, right.
Okay, so 26.6, is that that's my math?
Sounds right.
Okay. All right. And is the plan that you're submitting, is there a construction plan and elevations for the unconstructed footprint, which is the,
North.
Is it north?
yes,
Yeah.
you tricked me with the arrow
Yeah,
thing.
I know, I was almost calling it west, and it was
Sometimes
north.
they're this way, sometimes it's this way.
So it's a bit of an unconventional strategy for sure. You know, obviously we're trying to do it because we all together have an interest in making sure there's a place for the waste of this community to go. So our strategy was all of the engineering for the whole build out of the permit is done. It's gonna take TDEC too long to review all of that because there's much more complicated features there. And so all of that engineering is already done. So we're basically submitting all of it to TDEC, but saying, we're only asking for approval to build this little portion of that, which we think will make it faster because it cuts out any waters of the United States, any jurisdictional waterways that have to interact with the Corps of Engineers and things that just take a lot more time that TDEC will get bogged down with.
So then, I think Ms. Hunter, one of the questions you'd asked me was about streams and getting baselines.
Yes,
Is that, if the proposed expansion does not include jurisdictional, is there 1 or 2 jurisdictional streams?
I believe there's 1 jurisdictional stream, there's 2, there's one on the.
there's 2.
Yeah, there's 2.
Okay, so so does the area that you're proposing, TDEC, kind of, the smaller part that you get expedited, does that touch the stream?
It does not, there's 0 impacts to jurisdictional waters or
Okay.
wetlands.
And so you can see that on the plan, so he can,
You
the tech
can.
guy can say, I don't need to worry about this part?
That's
kind of
right.
thing? Okay, then why don't you advise me about what your question is in light of this development? If you still wanna get baseline, if the stream's not gonna be affected, then tell me what you want.
Well,
You don't have to tell me right now, I'm just
Well,
saying.
I would like to make a motion to have that property, if we can have a drone or someone check that whole property, because I had a map drawn up by the assessor's office, and I'm concerned about that. And I think that we talked about it, or Republic spoke about it, about the borrow area last year. And I would just like to ensure that we have a before, documentation
Okay,
before it's disturbed.
okay, so that's different than like water sampling it. You wanna see like, where is everything now,
I
and
wanna see
then,
everything.
okay.
And
Y'all
so
have-
just, so that all is required to be done of us in order, so we've characterized all the waterways on site. That's submitted to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who has responsibility for all jurisdictional water determinations. They have come back and said, yes, we agree with your determinations, and we have that letter. So that's all part of the permit application. So we can certainly break that out and show it to you separately, but that's all, you're absolutely right, that all has to happen. That has happened, and once it goes in with the Part 2 application, that gets all available for you. So that documentation and confirmation has occurred.
Do we have pictures of everything?
Yeah, we have pictures of everything, and, we fly it, our survey that we do quarterly is an aerial survey with a drone, and so those photos are also always available. So we can for sure make sure to include like the raw ortho photo image if you'd like, and we can start making that available as a separate, if you wanna see over time how that goes.
Yeah, I would like documentation.
I have a technical question. When you said when you do your surveys, you do it by drone,
Yes,
and is there like 4K camera on it,
I'm not sure what the camera resolution
or whatever,
is.
is it
Yes.
taking video, so in addition to getting the calculations?
It's taking photos, so it's ortho photos, the concept is you basically take a whole bunch of really high resolution photos and then stitch them together using computer software.
I didn't understand what you were talking about. So
That's right,
if she's asking for a drone, you're saying your survey
captures that,
technology has already captured that.
that's right.
Is there something with that wouldn't, do you include that in your jurisdictional
No.
water packet? That wouldn't be in there.
No, but we do it quarterly, so I guess I'm saying if you would like to see aerial images of before and after or the site developing, we have all of that information.
And you'll make it available to us.
Yeah.
What did you call it? The ortho what?
Is it ortho photo?
Okay.
ORTHO.
So will we be doing any sampling of the water before we do anything? Before the borrow area is, before they start getting into that area and doing anything? Will we doing?
We're a ways away from any of that. What we could probably do, and now that he's explaining what the material is, I'm not sure what format that's transferred in.
It could be anything, if you want a JPEG or PNG or PDF or any of
Yeah,
those.
but these two streams are currently the same streams that are being tested regularly anyways, right?
These streams is a strong term for these. They're more like dry ditches that
Well, yeah,
get
that
water
turn
in them
into
when it
streams
rains.
when it rains,
But the
understand.
water that gets in them is not associated with industrial activities. So anything at the landfill that interacts, any storm water that interacts with industrial activities is routed to on-site treatment ponds. And those ponds each have permitted outfalls, and those all get sampled on a regular basis. Yes, that's correct. But these two streams are sort of distant from current operations and have no interaction with active landfilling operations.
And they have their own source, it's not stormwater,
Yeah,
which is why
one
they're
of-
jurisdictional.
Yeah, one of them does. The other one is like, it's sort of ephemeral, so it'll come and go. Yeah, that's right.
I think we have some pictures of one of the streams that goes through the property, because when one of the properties was purchased, the Solid Waste Commission had a consultant take pictures of all of that, so we have some documentation already, but I wanted something also more current, because it showed the stream, and it should be in our records file at the county office.
It sounds like what Mr. Klassen is talking about, try to dig down a little bit, and it can provide you the answer to your question with the drone stuff. I think you should look at that, you should get it and look at it.
Okay.
Then when you have eyes on, you can say, okay, I wanna change my motion, or I wanna get more
Okay.
stuff. Cause there's a lot of options, but there's no reason to spend the money unless
Okay.
it's something you don't already have or can't get from them. That's just my 2 cents as far
Okay.
as trying to answer the question about the commission has a serious matter to make sure that the landfill is not polluting a jurisdictional stream. You don't want that. That's a risk for everybody, so getting the pictures is great. Just, again, there's gonna be a timer on that if you can set a time that can work and get that into the growing pile, that would be good.
Sure.
Anything else, Ms. Murphy?
I think we've answered your question.
You have,
Okay, so we'll get that done and then revisit as
we'll
needed.
revisit that. Before we adjourn, I have a question. Going back to the approval of expenses, do we need to approve the attorney and the stipends, make a motion, or just since our budget includes that, it's in our budget to,
I'm comfortable if we want to vote to do a continuous payment for stipends and attorney, if you all are. If we want to review her retainer every time, that's a different story.
Isn't that in a budget? I mean, so when you
Well-
approve the budget, it kind of captures all of that?
well, that's what I thought, except that you're the one that wanted to approve it at every meeting. Once we approve a budget, unless
Well, we
we're.
approved it at every meeting that you had as well, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair. So
But
it's
we
not something
continue
new on
that
my watch, but
practice.
go ahead.
Well, what I'm saying is that if it's approved, if we're not exceeding our budget cap, we really don't need to come back and approve it unless we have to amend the budget.
Right.
And so far, we haven't exceeded anything. And that was just a question.
That's the nice thing about having a budget. Yeah.
I don't mind either way. I don't mind approving it each month. So you're comfortable with just Mr. Holliday signing the stipends and attorney bills?
Yeah, unless Ms. Rice requires that we sign an attendance sheet. It's my understanding that's what she wanted, was a verification of those people that, or the commissioners that attend the meetings, since we're paid based on attendance.
The humidifier's tired of us being here.
Hot air.
Do you want to make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the stipends and the attorney's invoice for the meeting.
Just this meeting or all meetings going forward?
Well, when we start the budget, I think that we should, just this meeting.
Oh, well, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but I do have a question. It would be a lot easier for me if there's an automatic renewal monthly of the retainer, and then my invoice is, I met it or I didn't meet it, it's accumulating. I didn't really sort that out at the beginning because we were kind of starting on a hot minute. But to send you a bill, it's just like replenish the invoice. It gets a little chunky. So if you want to do it that way, that would be great by me. And then if it gets to a point where it's stacking up, we just stop, because I don't want that piling up in my trust account
Well, I
if I'm
think,
not using it.
I think the only thing that I'd like to say is that once the budget is approved, unless we exceed the caps, unless we have to amend the budget, everything should automatically be approved. All we have to do is submit an attendance sheet to the finance office to verify those of us that attended the meeting, but anything else, we should be like county commission. It doesn't come back unless you exceed that budget item, that line item.
I don't know what's budgeted for others.
So then what we'll do, when we have the next workshop, we'll include this thing monthly retainer payment to you, starting.
Did you speak up?
Can you
We
unplug
can
that?
change the amount of it too, like, we can amend that, but that would be great, so it's streamlined on that, and then if I'm over the cap, we can,
Yeah, any change that requires additional funds would need to get.
Can you unplug that?
I mean, so
Unplug.
we can vote on that type of motion real quick.
yeah, let's
Thank
just hit that at the next meeting, cause something that simplifies and streamlines, I don't anticipate having this kind of work months from now. Just trying to get through the chunky part. So let's look at the budget, look at it next,
Workshop.
session.
Yeah.
Workshop, yep, works for me.
So do you need a
Then I
second?
think what.
No, we're gonna address it in July.
Okay, so you're not,
Yeah.
you've taken
No,
that
I
motion off the table.
So
Yeah,
is
I'll
there
take the
something we need
motion
to
off, we'll
prove
just
to-
sign our
No.
attendance
for stuff
sheet.
today?
I think I
No.
understood what you were saying though, so
No.
that.
Yeah, we don't have to vote at every meeting.
No, your other point, I think, is a valid point. I mean, we can do that too with the budget and then put it in next month. And if we have the full charter, we all vote on it.
So workshops, 7/13, budget, 10-year plan, and the audit. Any other items to discuss at that workshop?
Oh, just one question, have you heard from Mr. Byers?
Mr. Byers drove by the landfill the other day, and there was a hydraulic leak from a dump truck, and said they're doing a great job cleaning it up. So thank you on that, even though it wasn't their responsibility, it was a third party. I know the state was coming out and everything else, but it's not your responsibility, but thank you for cleaning that up. Mr. Byers said you've been doing a great job on the road, but it hadn't been raining either. But the other day it rained a little bit, and a little mud got up, and you're cleaning it up. So that's what Mr. Byers has reported back to me.
Thank you.
Shoot me your emails if you want Dropbox access. I'll upload part 2. We'll go from there. Anything else? Got a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Well, I didn't, but,
They have to go on.
but I'm gonna, it has wrong, that was given to, sent to us and with no correction.
So something is here, that was,
Yeah, but we didn't amend what we